I guess it was a bit like when Moses led the people out of Egypt. We went on a wander for what seemed like 40 years. It's only been 5 or 6, but it was a real struggle. But we got to know each other. There was a fallback solution the government put to us. We had to find a better alternative, and it took us some years to do that. Being a flood person, I guess I was representing the interests, I thought, of the irrigators of the area. And then there was some vineyard people on it. There was a landowner who was a contractor. There was a pivot grower. You know, so I guess that's where we were coming from, representing our own interests. But we realised that we had to get on side with the vineyard industry, although there was a depth of suspicion that what would happen. We were given a fallback that the area we were in, they had 3 areas. It was 1, 2 and 3. 2 was heavily over-allocated, 1 was about okay, and 3 was over-allocated but not to a major degree. That was the first sticking point, you know, had to be fair to all growers. Then the vineyard industry had big licences, and we felt as flood growers we would cop it in the neck. We would be the ones that would wear the flak and lose the most. But we had to get on side, and so there was a lot of ways we went about that, but the keys to that were our own group. We kept going, meeting with our own group and discussing it. Christine McElroy came onto the board 2/3 of the way through, and she was part of our irrigators group. And we met as a group out at their property one day. Christine that day decided to change to a blonde, and we got her to lead the meeting. And it was a real turning point in what we did. Christine said, "I'm the blonde. I'm going to give each of you 2 minutes. No interruptions. You can't talk over anyone. Let everyone have their say." And we had probably 30 growers there. As we went round that area, outside their patio or their landing that afternoon, the mood changed because everyone got to have their say. The dominant people didn't dictate, weren't allowed to put their point of view until it was their turn. And after that was the mood changed as we went around that area. And by the time everyone had spoken, we almost had a consensus. We sat down and we nutted out. From there, we employed a consultant, REM, through Stuart Richardson. He was well recognised as a hydrologist. His science was accepted by the board, by the government, and he got on well with government authorities. And from that point on, we had a place we could move to. Stuart spoke at our next Padthaway Groundwater Committee meeting on behalf of us as flood growers, and the vineyard representatives on the board asked whether they could employ him as well. So that was the catalyst to where we actually came together as a group. Relationships have been built before that with government and with those people on the board. We became quite good friends with those government people. So they began to trust us and we began to trust them. So I guess from all that, that's how it went. Then we sat down and we had to work through how we would do that, best serve us as irrigators, best serve the vineyard industry, and meet the government requirements. And after another probably 18 months, we got there. Those people that irrigated didn't lose, they were still able to operate as they were before. The inefficient users were cut back in their allocations, but they're still able to operate. And almost to a farmer, we've had a consensus on this plan. So it's been a very worthwhile process. I don't think I've lost friends through it, being on that board, and I don't think anyone else has lost friends. And that's not the sort of norm when you're talking water. We got there in the end, and people realised that what they had to work within. They had to be far more efficient. And I think people have got a bit excited about having efficiency in that area. I mean, we had to put up with, everyone has to have water meters now, and they're a cost to ourselves, they're not a cost to the government. But people have got into water monitoring now, more people are laser levelling, there are more efficiency in their pumping system. So all of that is actually, people are quite, well, not everyone, but a lot are quite excited about how they go about their irrigation processes now, I think. Maybe excited is a bit stronger word, but yeah. I guess in changes that the subject's not talked about much. And that's probably a real positive. And there was a worry about what was going to happen to the licence. All those sort of issues would be constantly on people's mind. Wherever you'd be, that subject would come up. It doesn't come up as often now. People are just getting on with what they do and what they do best.
What are those shoes?